Alright, basic update on the Kratky hydroponics, and this is going to be a little bit, not complicated precisely, but anyway. Okay, so we have rice, zucchini, or no, is that a pumpkin? No, that's zucchini. Rice, zucchini, and 2 tomatoes in this batch. Okay, so you'll notice that the tomatoes are very small for the season, which was expected. I started tomatoes in the greenhouse in the spring, and then life happened, and these were our 2 survivors. So mid-June, early June, anyway, somewhere around there, I actually pulled them out of the greenhouse and stuck them in the hydroponics. So they, yes, they are very small. We had something else die, and so we stuck the zucchini in as a filler. So yes, it is very small. And the rice was a last-minute decision, so yes, it is very small. All 3 of these were planted in the hydroponics at about the same time. The board in front is for temperature control, and so far it seems to be working well. The white board goes over the end, and I just haven't put it back yet since our windstorm the other day. Okay, so Kratky hydroponics. Kratky hydroponics is a system where you just put the nutrients in and let it go for the season. There are a couple of things that you have to be aware of. One is water level. What happens is that the plants put down roots into the water, and as they do, the water level falls. And at some point, now if you're using lettuce, some kind of greens that are intended to be harvested, and then a month later the plant is dead and it just goes away, Kratky hydroponics standard, just put it in the bucket and let it go, is perfect. No problems. If you want something longer term, you're going to have to make allowances, because what you've got is that the water level drops and eventually that plant will drink the bucket dry. So you have to have a way to put water back into the buckets. That's what the stick is. It's the way to measure the water level in the bucket. Now, Kratky, when he did it, he had all of them connected. He had all of the buckets connected, and he maintained the water level through mechanical means. But what happens is that with these, because they're not connected, there's no water coming into these. There were several things that will happen. One is that the plant will drink the bucket dry, in which case your plant dies. Another is that the plant will drink the bucket to a lower level, and then you try to fill it up, but the plant has developed a section of air roots, so that the plant is still getting the air that it needs without it being in the soil. So a section of the roots, we'll use this one, a section of the roots remains dry and collects air, and then below that it's into the water. And it does it. They do it. This one, they look rather interesting, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in a minute. One thing that I learned last year, let's finish that part of the conversation first. They will drink the water down to a certain level, and then you have to maintain that level. You cannot go above that level again, because the air roots, if they get covered by water, the air roots will drown and rot, and then your plant dies. If you leave the level of air roots, if you leave an established level of air roots, the plant will just continue putting roots down into the water, no problems. It will breathe through the roots that are above the water, take nutrients out of the roots that are below the water, and you have a healthy plant. These are things that I have learned over time. I'm still having a difficult time maintaining the water level, but the problem with these plants right now is not the water level. The rice should never be really concerned about the water level. It has systems built in so that it can breathe underwater. But these others were struggling. That one on the end looked like it was completely dead last week. And it didn't, I mean, the water was still there. It had roots down in the water. No problems. Okay, now if you look at these roots, I don't know if you can even see it, you can see that the roots are very, very thin. And it is putting out new roots out of the growth medium, but the roots are very thin, they're tangling up, they're not really healthy. All I did to bring this back was put water on this, the rooting medium, because that was completely dry. And that's one thing that has happened in previous years, is that if the rooting medium completely dries out, for some reason the plant, even if it has roots in the water, the plant can't pull up enough water to make up the difference, I guess, because the rooting medium pulls water out. I don't know. But anyway, so that one last week was it looked completely dead. It was all dry and crispy, and I put water on the rooting medium and it just popped right back. So others, the zucchini was doing fabulous. You see all those yellow leaves? Those were not there. And this tomato was really, really struggling, as was the rice. So the tomato looked approximately like the zucchini does now. Yellow leaves, drying up, and the rooting medium was fine, and it had roots in the water. Get the root system. Okay, doesn't look like much at this point from this angle, but it's there. It's got roots in the water, not really healthy roots. But then there's this one, the zucchini, just amazing healthy root system. Okay, so what's the difference between these? The rice and these two. Now, early in the spring, I took my nutrient solution and added it to all of the buckets. Now, what I have learned in the past is not to put the nutrient solution until there are roots in the water. So last spring, a year ago, I waited until there were good roots in the water before I put the nutrient solution in. Because what I have found in previous tests, and this is a nutrient solution that I have made, it's primarily ash and eggshell. If you haven't followed this project previously, it's ash and eggshell. I'm still using a little bit of Epsom salt, because that is the only way to get the sulfur. I still have some projects going to figure out the sulfur thing, because the one nutrient that this stuff appears to not provide is sulfur. So I'm still using tiny bits of Epsom salt. Anyway, this spring I put the nutrient solution in the buckets, and then a few days later decided to add the zucchini to the lineup. And I did not put any nutrients in that water, because I don't put nutrients in the water until there's visible root development. So the ones that had, even the ones around the side, the ones that had visible root development, I put the nutrients in the water. I forgot to put nutrients in the water for the zucchini. So I added nutrients to that water after the strong root system had started to develop. Last year, some of the projects, it was the previous year, I think. Once the nutrient solution went into the water, the roots stopped. If there was too much of the nutrient solution, the root development stopped. And I think that's what happened here, is that these are the roots that were in the water that were and it's not developing new roots. So I put nutrient solution in the zucchini probably a week or so ago. But when I saw the tomato struggling, really struggling, and the zucchini was fine, I realized that the water in the zucchini bucket was clear and that it didn't have any of the nutrient solution in it. So I switched these. And now you can see that the tomato is clean and the zucchini is starting to struggle. So this morning I emptied out maybe a gallon or two of water from each of these and replaced it with clear water. I'm hoping that will be sufficient to bring them back. But progress is being made, and I won't say progress as far as keeping the plants alive or keeping them healthy, but in learning what needs to be done in order to make this system function. I'll talk with you later.